up, honey? Fix this to
live chat.
Live chat.
What's
going on, everybody? Hope everybody's had a good week so far. It's been a fun and interesting week here. So I'm going to go ahead and get the housekeeping out of the way. Tonight's live stream, of course, is always brought to you by our wonderful sponsors, LogOx and their forestry toolkit, Gallagher Fencing, Steck and Coyote, Baker Creek Heirloom Seeds at rareseeds.com, and McMurray Hatchery. What's that? McMurray.com, right? Yeah, boom.
No, it's just McMurray, I think. It might be McMurray.
Yeah, the link will be
it's all in the description.
All in the description. Did I miss anybody?
No, I think that's everyone.
I think that's everybody. I gotta really start writing that stuff down.
It's almost as if we should have like a little ticker at the bottom that says something.
Set it up then, girlfriend. Set it up.
Me? Why me?
I don't know, because you took over the computer.
Oh.
Ever since you had me move it in here.
You're silly.
I know. What a wonderful, wonderful. We had a really good day today. We got a video. What's up, Brian? We shot a video today that'll be coming out this week sometime.
This is gonna drive me crazy. This little lid sitting here. It's just laying there like all lonely and stuff.
The lid was lonely.
Yes, it was lonely. I was trying to block it so you could see it, but
y'all, I want to introduce you to Mr. Lid. I want to welcome him to the show. So that way he won't be lonely.
Hello.
He won't be lonely, and he's no, bring him back.
No,
bring him back.
You embarrassed him. You embarrassed him. Now he wants to go climb in a corner and cry.
He wants to be a part of it.
He wants to cry himself to sleep now because you embarrassed him.
Oh,
he's an introvert.
He's a snowflake. Okay, well.
Niall, what's up? You were so mean to me. Like, you patronized me constantly.
Mr.
Robin Booty. Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it.
Mr. Lid, maybe he'll come back later on in the show, but he got a little, little embarrassed,
You embarrassed him. You called him out.
What's it called when, camera shy. That's what it is, camera shy.
So, he's not a performer.
He's not a performing monkey. Not a performing monkey. Unlike other people, you know, and you proved in a short this week. See, now I've learned now that YouTube is doing this these shorts and stuff to try to compete with TikTok and Reels and everything. I have to be very careful what I do, say, and whatever, because when this one has the camera, because you never know what she's gonna turn into a short.
That's exactly correct.
Yeah. I was trying to being a little sarcastic out there when we was fixing the fence and slapping my chest and everything like that. And now everybody in the whole world seen me do my silverback impression.
That's exactly correct. That's how that works.
So if you missed it, we put out 3 videos this week and a whole bunch of shorts. This will be the first week for the after show for our members. Mind and Body Company. How you doing?
That's Henry.
Henry. Okay. Hey Henry. So for our
You'll get canceled.
Panda and Kodiak Bears memberships, there'll be a 30-minute after the show. Where we're going to continue on discussing tonight's topic in there with them and really have a continuation good time, be able to answer any other questions that they may have with us. So without further ado, I think we've hit the 5-minute mark, so we can go ahead and begin with tonight's show. All right, so the very first thing with the show tonight, we're going to talk a little bit of preparedness for a second. I want to start a what would you call it? Like a weekly checkup, a weekly reminder, a weekly kind of checklist, so to speak, for you guys. With everything that's going on out there, and we're getting ready to hit the winter months, and in the winter time, you know, we get some bad storms, ice, snow, that kind of stuff, and it will disrupt power. And so you may end up being a couple of days without power, because always in the wintertime it usually does take a little bit longer for them to get the power back on the road if it's from ice or a heavy snowstorm, because they have to kind of clear the roads first for the power company to be able to get there.
Right, and especially a lot of us live out of, like, our goal is to not be in town. So a lot of us live rurally, right? And so we're usually the last ones to get power, unless you're close to like a station or something like that. I'll take care of that. Okay. Unless you're close to like a police station or a fire station or something where they have to make sure that they have power. Otherwise, you're hosed. So that can be a problem.
Yes.
So
this week we're going to talk briefly about water. Agua. Yes. Very, very important. Even during the cold months, you can get dehydrated, and you can get a dehydration illness that could end up costing your life. Just because it's cold outside doesn't mean you can't get dehydrated. So this week, I want you guys to check your water supplies, your water filters. Do you have a way to clean the water if your power goes out for an extended period of time and you can't get your you don't have an alternative power source for your well pump, or if you're on city water and it shuts down due to lack of power because of a bad storm? Do you have a way to flush your toilet? Do you have water set aside to cook with? Do you have all these different things to be able to make it with water?
Right.
Now if you do have a lot of snow on the ground, if you have a wood burning stove, hint, go out there, pick up the snow, put it in a pot, put it on your wood burning stove, boil all that water, get it to a good rolling boil. I always say 2 minutes, or some people that say less, some people that say more. That way you kill all of the little microscopic junk that's in there. And if you're just going to use it for your commode, then don't worry about how long it boils. Just get it till it melts. Because this is really important, guys. Because it goes 3 or 4 different levels. If the big one is dehydration, but the second one is also sanitation.
Definitely sanitation. Because if you can't brush your teeth.
Can't
clean yourself, wash your hands.
Right. Yeah, but I was more or less aligned. If you have to poop, you don't want it just. We got a family of 4. I don't want all that poop stocking up in there.
Well, no. In that case, I wouldn't even worry about if water is a thing at that point, I think we would grab a pool noodle, a bucket, and we would start pooping in a bucket. I'm just trying to be real here. I think if water was limited, I think we would not be pooping in the toilet.
I'm not pooping in a bucket.
Okay, well then you can poop in the toilet and the rest of us will poop in a bucket, because I'm not above pooping in a bucket. I'm just saying.
We have the pond, and we have all kinds of other things. When it comes to if it's a snowstorm, you can scoop that snow up, put it in your porcelain commode, it'll melt down. You'll be able to flush your commode.
Just saying.
Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Okay, so this week I want everybody to check your water supply, check your water filters, and make sure that you have water stored so you can flush your commode.
And that's helped us out a lot. In our bathroom, we actually have a big, wooden cabinet kind of area, and one of those areas, we have nothing but 2-liter bottles of water stored. And I don't know how many of y'all remember, but back in the summertime, we lost water because of the pump switch. We had to turn water off, do all this stuff. And during that time, we used that water to water seedlings, to brush teeth, to go to the bathroom, all of that different stuff. And as soon as that water came back on, the very first thing we did was fill those bottles back up and put them right back where we had them before when they were empty. So
there you go. All right, so let's make a quick announcement. There was a change. We forgot completely about it in the beginning, but we want to. It's an exciting announcement, I think. If you've been paying attention in the chat, you've noticed that April put up one link for Robin's ebook, and now she's real quick put up another one. And that's our fault because we forgot to tell her. But thanks to Crystal over there at Complicated Farms, who hosts our website, we are now able to sell Robin's ebook directly from the website, where it's gonna save us a bunch of money, and we're passing that savings on to y'all. So now, if you want to, I know some of y'all went and looked at it last week, and I don't know what stopped you from buying. It may have been the price, but if it was the price, definitely go check out our website in our store. It's there, and if you feel like, now if you can purchase it, purchase it. If it does not work, please contact us ASAP, because this is our first time doing this through our website, and so if there's a hiccup with it in some way, shape, or form, we need to know about it as soon as possible, so we can fix it and get that remedied and get that out to you.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's talk about, let's go into tonight's show. We have some questions for y'all. Okay.
You want me to ask the first
I want you.
one?
I want to take a look.
So, in everything that's been going on lately, we're getting ready to change from, we had a really blistering hot summer, to now we're starting to cool off, to now we had our first frost just a couple nights ago. And so it got us thinking, and we're wondering, how many of you guys actually plan out your calendar year? Like, you're planting, what are you doing with your livestock, whether it's chickens, cows, pigs, so on and so forth, and even your farm chores, like cutting wood, putting trees down. Like, do you plan this stuff out on your calendar for the year? So we'll give y'all a few seconds to answer that in the chat.
And, planning it out throughout the year, is, I feel like, Robin and I are a little bit, this is where our personalities differ, right here. I am a put it on the calendar kind of guy. Give me a set schedule so that way I can work within that schedule. That way it helps me, especially now with the TBI, I can get distracted rather easily. Very easily.
The problem with the schedule is that regardless of schedule, he still gets distracted.
But it helps me stay a little bit closer to center.
Like, what I can do is I could say, hey, the schedule says we need to be here. Whereas before, if I didn't have the schedule, I couldn't say, hey, didn't you plan on doing this today? Like, I can't do that. But I can look at him and say, hey, schedule says farm chores from 10 to 12. Like, you're supposed to be doing farm chores, not playing your video game or whatever. And so, it helps. But I'm of the mentality that when you set up a schedule, that you're setting yourself up to fail in this lifestyle. So we definitely have two differing opinions. And I think what we do is we kind of meet in the middle, so that we try to make, like what Windswept is saying, we try to make things a little flexible so that in case something happens, like for instance, yesterday we had planned on doing some stuff and we had somebody contact us that needed us to go check on their electric fencing. And so we basically had to stop what we were doing,
Yeah.
and go do that real quick.
It was a side job that we picked up to help this lady. We basically pulled some hurricane fencing, and then we also installed electric fencing to try to help keep her potbelly pig, that's a pet, in her backyard. And so we went over there and pulled everything, and then we were waiting on materials, and the person that she had there to help full time, we gave him the instructions, and I guess somewhere along the line something got confused. And her electric stuff was not working, and so the pig was still pushing his way out through the fencing. And so we had to stop what we were doing, because we got paid for this job, and went over there. We figured out what the problem was, fixed it, thanks to our Gallagher fence testers.
Yes.
They helped out a lot. They helped out a lot, even though they also got, I think Gallagher has put a program in their fault finder on the test setter that if it feels like you're overweight, that it will point the arrow in the direction that would be the long way around, so you get those extra steps in.
It's so funny.
But anyway, so we were able to do that, and so, but it's definitely like Windswept Homestead says, you got to be semper gumby, always flexible with this. So I don't live and die by the schedule. I'm like, we're doing this because it's on the schedule now. No, we do have to be flexible with it, but I do like to have the schedule as we're going along.
Another thing that we've done is we actually have, you can't see it up that way, there's a calendar up above my finger right here. We have a desk calendar that we've mounted up on the door, and each month we write out the things that we know we have to do, if we have VA appointments, and then we do things like if we noticed that, for instance, if we noticed like Louise a little while back was raising Cain, and we're pretty sure that was letting us know that she was in heat. And, well, not pretty sure. We're absolutely sure because we got a chance to look at her backside, and she was most definitely in heat. So we can go right on the calendar, she's in standing heat. So then we can use that, like what Windswept is saying. One thing we plan out is to not have babies born in the colder months. So you want to make sure that when you're breeding her is not going to set her up to have a baby in the winter. Right. Because if you've ever had to deal with babies in the winter, it is not fun.
Okay, so if you're not that many people, it looks like, set up the schedule, so then that means you're the procrastinator. You fly by the seat of your pants, homesteader.
Yeah. So maybe you're the one that doesn't plan out, what they're going to plant and when they're going to have their seeds started. You're the one that's like, okay, it is Easter, and I'm going to go ahead and plant my plants because now I don't have to worry about frost, right?
My great-granddaddy been planting since the first Monday after Easter, since the beginning, and he always had a good garden.
Yeah, and so you're the one that runs to the big box store and you grab a couple flats of plants and you go ahead and get them started. Or are you the one who got their catalog this week and is making a list of everything that you want to order? Or maybe you already have it in your cart and you've already ordered your seeds. Or
maybe you're sending a letter to Baker Creek and just said, yes, I want it all.
just give me the whole catalog. And so, there's no procrastination here. So, are you the one that grabs those plants and goes ahead and puts them in? Or are you the one that has it set up so that you know exactly when your last frost date is, so you can work backwards and you're planting your seedlings and you're planting up and you're just waiting for that last frost so that you can take everything out and put it in the ground? Hey, sweetie pie.
Now, the third question,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yes.
Is
Now this is the big one,
Mhm.
and this is what I want everybody to kind of really dig deep and think about.
Here's the main idea of tonight's show. This is what it's all about right here.
Now, if you didn't have the internet or a calendar, how would you be able to identify when it's time to start those seeds? When is it time? When is it going to be safe to take those seedlings and start to harden them off and then transplant them out into your raised beds or into your garden, or start to hook the cow up so that way it can get bred, or you're hooking up the pigs, or you're going to start putting chicken eggs in incubators, or you want to start moving your chicks out, or when to order your chicks, or when to do all of these things.
Or how to, like, when do you prune stuff? When do you fertilize? Like, how do you know these things? Do you look at a calendar? Do you Google when your last frost date is?
Yeah. Or how have you become extremely dependent upon the farmer's almanac or the calendar or all these other wonderful, wonderful tools that we have at our fingertips today that 100 years ago, 200, well, it's almost probably 200 years now, we're in 2023, 200 years ago, we didn't have. And so tonight, I want to talk about things that you can start to look for in your area that can, let's get our wheels turning here.
Uses the stars.
Just steal the show, Sam. That way you can know, okay, this always happens, right about this time. So I need to go ahead and get my tomato seeds started, my pepper seeds started, or hey, I need to go ahead and bring the bull and put them in with the heifers and the cows. So what kind of things?
Barring anything like crazy, like we have a crazy spring or a crazy winter, like just your normal average, year, like what do you look for that gives you the indicators of certain things? So I'll start with one real simple one. Obviously, with pruning our muscadines, okay? We prune our muscadines in the middle of the winter. Now, what things am I going to look for that are going to indicate that it's time or it's okay for me to do that? Obviously, there's not going to be any leaves on the vines, right? There's not going to be any remnants of any fruit left on the vines. 2, the dirt. If I stick my finger into the dirt, it's going to be cold. The soil is going to be cold. Another thing that I look for is how brittle the actual vines are. When it's cold and there's still somewhat some water left in those vines, when it's super cold, they don't bend as much. They tend to want to snap a little bit easier. So when you're in that time frame, that's when we go ahead and we prune our vines. It says he knows what the Big Dipper looks like and how it tells you it's going to rain.
It's going to rain with the Big Dipper?
Don't know that. Don't know that one.
Now,
so
way back 200, 300 years ago, I mean, they used to go off of the stars and the planets. One of the things that, we, through homeschooling, that I was probably taught this back in the day in like 5th grade science class or something, but never really, it was in there, and then they brought in algebra or something, and so, once something new comes in, something old's got to leave. But through Ledessa is really interested in
astronomy.
Space and astronomy and looking at the stars and different galaxies and stuff like that. One of the things that we've noticed over the years is like Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, mostly Jupiter and Saturn, have always been in different locations for the summertime and the wintertime here. Now I know a lot of you are like, duh, Jason, but you know, that's something that, you know, we know that it's there. There's also the NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory. They have a YouTube channel. And they do this thing each month. It's called What's Up. Like, I think it came out a couple days ago, but it's called like What's Up November. And for any of you guys that want to be stargazers out there, it shares with you some of the key things to look for in this month. It'll tell you how many, basically when the full moon's going to be, when each phase of the moon's going to be, if there's going to be a meteor shower, if there's going, you know, when is going to be a really good time to see Saturn or Jupiter or Mars or any of the other planets that are out there, and different, like even being able to look at different galaxies if you got a strong enough telescope. It's really good. So if you're interested in that thing, check them out. And in fact, the guy that does it, Preston Dykes, I went to high school with him. We were acquaintances. We weren't really like best friends or anything, but we shared classes together. He's a really super cool guy and does a really good job with this. So if you homeschool, also that's something else that you can check out. I know, I went sideways. I'm sorry. It was Sam's fault.
So anyway,
I'm really trying to
if you don't have the internet,
I'm trying to figure out how
calendar.
Sam can tell that it's going to rain from the Big Dipper. He's going to have to teach me.
Well,
that.
that's a phone call later down the road. So we're not really getting a whole lot in the chat. I'm kind of disappointed here. Has anybody got anything that they know that they look for that kind of like, I know that this happens around this time every year. Like, is there anything that you know for certain that you know, like, I'll give you another one. For us, when we start to see the clouds of pollen, we know that that's, you know, it's starting to become springtime because all of the pine trees around here.
You scared me there for a second.
What?
When you led with clouds, I was like, ooh, where's she going?
No, with the, like, where it literally looks like you're looking through yellow lenses. Like, when you look outside, the clouds in the sky are not blue anymore. They've got this yellow tint to everything.
Every car is yellow.
And every car is yellow. We're covered in pollen for a good couple of weeks. And usually, after that stuff starts to drop, we usually have a pretty heavy rain that comes through and washes a bunch of it away within a week or two of it happening. So when that starts to happen, we kind of know that it's about, you know, we're going to have spring and into summer. If there's a clear cloudless sky, usually within 3 to 5 days, there's rain. Okay, so this is stuff for daily. We're talking more seasonally. Like, you know, if you didn't have a calendar and you were just living day to day, and you don't have access to the internet, what kind of things would you look for to know that you should be starting your seeds? Green fairy of death, exactly. That's exactly right.
So I know everybody's got at least something from going in from winter to spring. What is that thing that when you're bundling up and you're going outside and you see this and it warms you up because you saw this particular thing which tells you warmer days are right around the corner. You know, because like also don't forget to do the crazy turn your clock back thing unless you're lucky to live in Arizona, because they don't recognize this daylight savings time junk. Personally, I think it's just a huge waste of time. I don't understand it. I don't understand why somebody thinks that they can cut the front end off of the rug and sew it to the back end and it's going to be longer. So
we also watch for the snow clouds. Cows will darken up on legs and faces. So that's...
Okay, Sam's not allowed to talk anymore.
Crocus, the flowers, yep.
You know. Taking all my answers. So I forget what I was talking about now.
You were talking about daylight savings time.
Oh, yeah.
There's one. There's one for us because you're kind of in our area.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as we start to see the daffodils popping up, and this is the funny thing about still having the calendar and the Google. We take photos all the time. And so I was going back looking through all of our photos, and consistently every year the daffodils pop up right around Carol's birthday. So she knows that when those daffodils pop up, that spring is on the way, because her birthday is at the end of February.
Mm-hmm.
So she's able to go, okay, we're almost out of winter. Like, winter's almost done.
And one of the things that I was going to say is the same thing that Sam said. If you watch your livestock, if you watch your whether it's your dog,
Mm-hmm.
your cow,
Mm-hmm.
your chickens, your cows, and your dog, definitely. What is that?
I have no idea. I don't know.
Excuse me,
I don't know.
How did that work?
I have no idea. Somebody must have liked the live stream, maybe? I don't know.
That was
That was
weird.
weird. It just popped up out of nowhere.
Big honking. I don't know if y'all saw that or not, but there was just this big honking thumb that came like right above Robin's head. It was just like, bow.
Great idea, Robin.
Like, that completely threw me off my game. That was, because we don't have a filter or a widget for that, right?
So anyway, what we were saying is that with the animals,
Yes.
you will start to see, like, for instance, our cow. Our cow will start to shed, like, when she's in the spring is coming, she will start to shed her winter coat.
Yes.
And so you'll start to see, that starting to come. And really, like, when they go from that to their spring coat or their summer coat, there's a few weeks where they look a little shaggy.
Yeah, especially now, I can't honestly say anything about the beef cows because I can't recall right off the top of my head if it's as bad as it is with a Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
When that Jersey is transitioning from whether it's her, mostly it's from her winter coat into her
summer,
spring and summer coat, it just looks awful.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you are just like, oh, that is an ugly cow.
Well, Sam showed us a really cool thing about, like, if you just start, like, giving her a little massaging kind of thing, you'll see, you'll start to see that hair start coming off. And so we would take our work gloves and kind of just start,
And you get that lanolin.
Yeah, not as much with the cows.
Not as much as you get from
with
sheep,
but
you
you will get that.
But you still get it and coming in. But that is definitely a sign that's telling you warmer weather is on the way, because it will definitely make you look at your cow twice and go, ooh.
Yeah, like, whoa, like mange almost. Like, it's awful.
It's awful.
They really start, like, oh, look.
Thank you, Mama Z.
Whoop, whoop. Hair sheep do the same thing. Just now, several of mine just finished shedding just in time to put it back on. We have a guy up here on the corner that has some Katahdins. And they look awful when they're, like, patches are just falling out. Like, if you don't know what you're looking for, you would think that they're sick, like there's something wrong with them. But if you know, then you know, right? If you know, you know, right? So that's kind of cool. April said, those things are like the whomping willow. All of a sudden, all the leaves are gone. Yeah, she was saying, so, like, fruitless pear trees, they start losing their leaves. That's when you know that fall is coming. So, yeah, there are definitely some things where fall's coming, obviously, by tree leaves starting to change color, that kind of stuff.
God put everything out here for us to be able to have our calendar and go by. And it's things that we probably don't even think about. The blossoms coming in on peach trees, honeybee swarm season. When you start to see, and hearing about honeybees. Honeybees are not going to swarm in the middle of wintertime. You know, they got to have a consecutive amount of warm days before they even start thinking about it. You know, you have all of these things that Robin and I are really challenging you guys this evening. Start when you're driving back and forth to work, or you're driving to church, or you know, maybe you're not paying attention in church. Shame on you. But start to seriously think about and go, okay, I know there's going to be some things that happen, and start paying attention to it this year. Like right now, we're in the middle of starting to change. We're going to slowly start to go from autumn into winter. So start paying attention to your area, to things that maybe you have, I don't want to say taken for granted, but you have just looked at it and go, oh, it's just that time of year. Those are the things that maybe you need to jot down and write down to keep an eye out for, and saying, okay, hey, the leaves are starting to change color. I really need to up my firewood production.
Right.
You know, or getting little buds on my grapes and my, you know, my crepe myrtles, or my soft fruit, and all those different things. Different birds showing up in different times of the year. You
For
know?
us, like when it goes from spring to summer, we start hearing the bullfrogs more at night.
Yeah.
You know, another thing, if you have chickens, you know, towards the end of the summer into the fall, we always have this awful molt. Like you'll start to see feathers everywhere. You'll think that something got your chickens, when literally they're just molting and putting in new feathers so that they're warm over the winter time. And so, you know, that's another thing to look for, is when your chickens start to drop feathers, you start to know, okay, it's getting close to fall and into winter, you know. I think another good one to pay attention to is your temperature. Maybe get an old-timey garden thermometer instead of, you know, tracking your temperature through your phone. That if you have a garden thermometer, you can start monitoring like around midday. You know, how many of you know where the placement of the sun is about midday around your property? Like, we know when it gets to about 11 o'clock, we know where the sun is in the sky, right? So if we could consistently take the temperature every day at around that time, then we could start monitoring when the temperature starts to drop. So we could go, okay, it was really hot, but now we're starting to, you know, we went from 100, now we're starting to back into the 80s. Okay, at about that time, it's time to start planting those fall plants, to start doing the broccoli, start doing the cauliflowers, the cabbages. Like, that's your indicator. Or if you're going to do a second round of, you know, cucumbers or something like that doesn't do well in the extreme heat, then when you start to see those temperatures drop, you can go, okay, it's time. You don't need a calendar, you don't need the internet, you can pay attention to the temperatures outside and go from there.
Yeah, because and why are we driving this point home tonight? Why did we feel like this was important for us to talk about when we could have talked about 800 million other different things? It's very simple. The weather guy is hardly ever right. You know, it's a guessing game for them. They make it's a hypothesis. They're making educated guesses. But the real hardcore fact of the matter is with all of this AI stuff going on, there has been proven cases where they've been putting out AI stuff that is completely wrong. Whether it's recipes or stuff like that. Now, it may be a glitch because it's all still new, okay? But at the end of the day, that glitch could cost you. You know, all that stuff, that information that's out there on the internet, not all, you know, you have to take it with a grain of salt. You know, and just like with us, with our videos, the stuff that we that we share.
Mm-hmm.
It's accurate for us and our experience, our microclimate, our area, the personality of the cow that we're dealing with, or the pigs and stuff that we're dealing with. And there'll be times that people will come along and run into a similar problem, but the stuff that worked for us ain't gonna work for them.
Exactly.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But and this is a huge
Huge
Sir Mix-a-Lot but. God's calendar, the way that He's got everything set up, that's never wrong.
Right.
The way that God designed the trees, the way that God designed the grasses, the animals, everything that we've been given dominion over and we're supposed to take care of, has its own internal, for lack of a better term right now, because my TBI is acting up, a clock. It has its own clock and its own schedule to go on that we can learn to read. We need to learn to read that clock because it's not going to lie to us. And so, I mean, how many times have y'all listened to the Farmer's Almanac or your extension agent or any of those things, and you trusted it and you put the plants out there, and we had some freak hard freeze, one like Jack Frost was just giving it one more
punch,
I'm gonna stick it to the man, and come in and had a hard freeze, and you lost all of these all of your plants. You know, so I like what Windswept said. If it will all talk to you if you are listening. You know, that's why God told us to be still. One, just to be able to hear Him. Well, I mean, it was to be able to hear Him, but to also hear everything else, how He designed it.
Right. Exactly. Well, hello there, Patrick.
Patrick from Scrape Away Homestead.
Scrape away, just scrape away.
Just scrape away, just scrape away. Anyway, so these, I mean, we don't always, you know, I know a lot of people get turned off when you start talking about preparedness, or you start talking, you know, bringing up the Lord, or, you know, and stuff like that, and they just kind of turn it off. You don't have to be wearing a tinfoil hat for this to be accurate. We've all lost stuff because the weatherman was off by 3 or 4 weeks, you know, or the Farmer's Almanac was off by a couple of weeks, you know. And, you know, like us, we know when our rainy season's going to happen. And like for me, you know, our hardcore rainy season happens during trapping season. And so I know I have a finite window during trapping season in the beginning.
Hey, Leslie.
To be able to go out there and put a hurting or thin out the population of my land predators, my coyotes, foxes, bobcats, you know, those guys. Because I'm going to hit a rainy season that's going to take most of my trapping season away. And so I've got to make sure I focus in on that, hit those guys hard in the beginning.
First part of that's why for us, we don't homeschool in December. From the minute that Thanksgiving happens, we don't start back till the first of the year. And the reason for that is because that is the month where we can hardcore go after coyotes and things like that are land animals, because come January, we usually get monsoons. And so we can't put any traps in the ground at that point because they just get washed away. So that's something that we know consistently every year. I didn't believe you didn't see him earlier. Hey, Floki. You didn't see him right there in the window?
Wasn't paying attention.
He's right behind you. Hey, buddy, come here.
You're a crazy cat. You know that?
Mm-hmm. He's
You know
such a
that?
good boy, though.
Hey, y'all, this is Floki. This is Carol's cat
Mm-hmm.
that loves to hang out in our room.
Well, the reason why, just to be clear, is because our windows face the front of the house. And when Carol goes to take out slop or go feed her dog or whatever, she goes out through the front, and he likes to sit in the windowsill and watch her. He does it every morning when she goes out to do chores. He'll sit there.
Mm-hmm.
If she's out in the middle of the day doing something, he'll go sit there on the windowsill and watch for her. And I know she was out there earlier because I heard the alarm go off that she was going out the front door, the door chime. So my guess is she's come back in from that, and so now he doesn't need to now he doesn't need to watch her anymore. You know who that is, don't you?
I can't see it. Who is it?
That's little man.
That doesn't tell me anything.
It's Brian's kid.
Ah, okay.
Jason.
Okay. Little Christian.
Mm-hmm.
So, over the next couple of weeks, just pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
Pay attention and write this stuff down. Because, look, just, just like how I said, the stuff with the AI.
Uh-huh.
I have a funny feeling the way that they're doing this whole shadow ban on social media when it comes to people that are trying to teach you how to grow your own food and live a more self-reliant lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
If you've noticed, even the larger channels like Roots and Refuge, everybody's views are way down, and it's that whole shadow band thing that they're really sequestering this type of information, and I think it's going to be harder and harder for us to be able to look this stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
So now's the time to, like, you can go to our Amazon store and our book list that's in there. Get stuff. I mean, I'm a huge fan of having your own library at your house anyway.
Yes.
Get your hard cover books. Get stuff you can turn pages in your fingers.
Mm-hmm.
Because there may become a time when finding this information is going to be extremely
Harder to find, right? Mm-hmm.
And so through the years, and there's a lot of good books out there. There really is. My suggestion is make sure that you get a book that has a original copyright date, and it has a 19 in it, not a 20.
19.
Those are always good books.
Yeah, go to thrift stores.
Yeah, look like the Foxfire books,
Mm-hmm.
your Great Depression era books,
Mm-hmm.
all those type of books. Those are gems, because there are a lot of things out there in those books that can help you recognize the seasons in your area, but two, they're full of wonderful wisdom and experience to help you along this journey. To a self-reliant lifestyle. What's he saying?
Mm-hmm. Tell them about your binders. Give some subjects. So we've done that with our preparedness stuff, our fire safety, but we've also done that. We have binders that we keep track of, like our seeds, what we're supposed to start, when we're supposed to start it, that kind of stuff. Cookbooks before 1950 have processed ingredients that have processed ingredients, i.e. cream of soup.
So
yeah,
our binders are basically three ring notebooks where we've, like, our fire safety one. We have our evacuation plan in there. We have where we're going to meet up, where if anything happens, the date when we last changed our batteries in our smoke detectors, when it's time for us to look at our fire extinguishers, make sure they're charged, because they can lose their charge over time. And so you have to keep, that's why in your public school systems and your government buildings, the fire marshal comes around once a year and he checks everything and stamps its approval. You know, and so sometimes you gotta change them out. So you have those things. So if you've had a fire extinguisher underneath your sink for 2 or 3 years, it's probably time to go get a new one. You know, those kinds of things. We do it with, we have one, it's called our, what did we call it? Pandemic Biohazard 1. And we have stuff in there for what?
I was just watching Floki come in and out of the screen, like right there.
For protocols that we have in place here for something as simple as the flu and the common cold, stuff like that. Get these notebooks and stuff and binders going on in your house as well, so that way, I mean,
excuse me.
if your child can read and you have it in there and you're like super sick with Mr. 19 or the flu, they can follow the directions on what to do to help take care of you to get through everything. You keep an inventory of all of your stuff, like the water that we were talking about at the beginning of the show. When it's time to, I mean, you got to use the OR system, and so that way you can rotate this stuff out. And these binders that we've done over the years is a huge help. In fact, what we'll do is, you know what, I'll well, let me think about that before I start running off at the mouth and Robin punches me. Because that'll get me in trouble.
Probably. But I think I know where you're going with that. But yeah, it's good to have that organization of, and then another thing too, Windswept said that the Janet Chadwick books, that's what I was looking for, was the How to Live, I don't remember what the title of it is, but they gave it to us about living on nothing and having everything or something like that. It's a great homesteading book. There's a lot of really good, there you go.
This
How to live, what? How to live on almost nothing and have plenty. There you go.
This book is a gem. We are so thankful from...
Of course, it started fights, though. It almost
careful, because I got their letter in there.
It almost damaged our marriage.
It did not damage our marriage.
Oh, yeah. Yes, it almost did.
You can't say that with her in there. You know she's going to take it personally.
I'm just going to say...
She's going to apologize for that.
I'm just going to say... It almost started a huge fight in this house that, like, became a knockdown.
If you're going to start talking about those tomatoes, give me this book. Bow!
See, I told you.
This book is a gem. If you don't have this book, we'll put an Amazon link to it
I feel like we have it on there somewhere,
in the description after the after show. Give us a few minutes. It'll definitely be on there by the time you get home from church tomorrow. This is a great book. It has recipes in it for what you need to even feed your livestock.
Except remember, it's one of those that was put in the 19s. It was copyrighted in the 19s, not the 2000s. And it tells you can order your chicks from Sears and Roebuck and Montgomery Ward. So could try that again, see how that works. But I love, Patrick said he's reading Little House in the Big Woods to Hucks. We did that with our girls too, and it was very helpful. They start talking about taking the molasses and cooling it off in the snow and turning it into, like that kind of stuff is lost. That doesn't really happen much anymore. I love the other thing that Windswept said is spices. That is definitely something to think about. And we recently went through that because we had a patch where we weren't going to the grocery store because bills had to be paid and we had stuff stored. So we were living off of our stores. But one thing that we've found that can really make things better or make things worse is having spices or the lack of having spices. Mm-hmm. Something as simple as salt. If you don't store salt, you better start storing salt. Yeah, because those kind of things, you know, popcorn is great. If you can have popcorn, but if you don't have any salt or anything on it, it's just popcorn. Put a little bit of salt on it and now it becomes our favorite snack, right? Make it garlic salt and whoo, hold on. So, you know, spices are definitely going to be a thing.
Jalapeno powder.
Keep that in mind. All my bread until this recipe you could build a house with because they were so hard. I definitely need to know about that because that is one thing that Ladessa has trouble with at times is her bread gets really dense. And I think some of it has to do with that second rise. But I'll definitely need to.
So definitely start getting your hands on books. Ones that you can put your hands on. Flip through the pages. You can get them at thrift stores. You'll even be able to tell if somebody was a smoker or not. But these things are going to be worth their weight in gold here pretty soon. If things keep going the way that they're going. Now look, I'm not doing any fear mongering or anything like that. You know, because look, at the end of the day, next year is going to be a great year. 2024 is going to be great. Why? It's an election year. Right? I'm going to go ahead and prophesy right now. 2024 is going to be a great financial year. But it always happens that way with the elections. And it really depends on what happens between now and then on how things, you know, go after that, you know. Or we may end up in World War III before the election. We don't know, you know. We know God's in control, and His will is going to be done. You know, but even Joseph put some wheat back.
That's true.
You know, and so there's nothing wrong with having faith that God's going to take care of you. But one of the things, you know, a lot of people sometimes, you know, I hear a lot of people say, God's always provided for me. God's always provided for me. I'm not gonna can any food, or I'm not gonna put any food away. Maybe the way that God is taking care of you is introducing you to people like myself, Windswept, Breakaway, all the people that are Mama Z out there that are out there teaching on YouTube on how to cook, how to put up food, how to do all these things in order for you to be able to do that thing. So I mean, that's my 2 cents on it. You know, so I felt like I was fixing to go off on a tangent, and so you know, but definitely, all right. The homework for this week, okay, is 1, check your water stuff, your filters, your stored water that you have set up just to be able to flush your commode. How far is a natural water source from your place? How would you get water from there to you in case of snowstorms, ice storms where you can't get out on the road, you can't do these things, so that way you can be able to stay hydrated, hygiene, flush your commode, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff down the road. So 1, let's check on that, make sure everything, all of that is good to go. If it's not, come up with a plan and start working towards that plan. If you have a friend who drinks a lot of Coke, get their 2-liter bottles. Rinse them out, start putting water in those 2-liter bottles. That's a start. That's what we use for the commode. Because one whole 2-liter will flush our commode twice.
Yes.
So you have that. Okay. The next thing is
Do you have a way to get water if your electric well pump has no water? Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. If you are on city water and the water doesn't work, then that's one thing. If you don't have power and you're on a well and you don't have power, so that means no water, then you're gonna run into that and it's gonna be a problem.
Your second assignment is to pay attention to what's going on right now in this time of year. Start looking for and listening, looking and listening for what God has provided for us to be able to tell when the seasons are changing. So that way you can take notes, write that stuff down.
Yeah, keep a notebook.
Yeah.
I loved the idea of keeping a garden diary. There were a lot of people a couple years ago that started, writing down what they noticed. Like, okay, not as much weeds right now. Not as much with, ants, fire ants. I'm not seeing as many fire ants. I'm not seeing squash bugs, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they start to document all that stuff. And after a couple of years, you kind of have a baseline.
Yeah, you'll start to see a pattern when the squash bugs are coming out. You start to see a pattern when this is happening, a pattern
meat cannings,
when that kind of stuff is happening. So
Right.
it can't do anything but help you in the long run, and you'll be gathering information that's relevant to your microclimate, your homestead, your garden, your area, because in all honesty, you could live 45 minutes from me and the signs can be different.
Yeah.
We stay cooler than Augusta, and Augusta's an hour and a half away from me. So those things, those kind of things, those microclimates are uber important for you to pay attention to for your success in beginning to raise your own food, which is also the steps to a self-reliant lifestyle, which is also your path to enjoying complete freedom. Okay, you guys, it's time for us to kind of wrap this show up. You panda bears, pandas, and Kodiak bears, for the after show, give us, after we close this down, give us about 10, 15 minutes to let this completely shut down and for us to be able to set everything up for the after show. It'll be there. And again, that's for channel members, Panda and Kodiak. We will continue this conversation in the after show. Last week, we left you with Ephesians 2:10, where you are God's unique creation. You are God's masterpiece. This week, we got to thinking about it, and Robin and I were talking about it. And the most popular verse in the Bible is John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, so that no one should perish but have everlasting life. That is a great verse, but I think we stop too soon. I absolutely love John 3:17. For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. In my opinion, that's even more powerful than John 3:16. Remember, God loves you. He died on the cross so that way you can have eternal life. All you have to do is ask for forgiveness. If you don't know how to do it, hit us up. We'll show you the way. Hope you guys had a great night tonight. We'll see the channel members in the live stream. Rest of you guys, we will see you next week. God bless, and we'll see you next week.